Hey guys, welcome to the podcast. I would say if you're new here, but ultimately we are all new here right now. If you're on my YouTube channel, if you're seeing this video right now, hi, welcome. Yo, what's up, Flamingos? So if you are from my channel, you know that I tried this podcast thing once. It didn't really work out. I got very mixed opinions on it from my friends and my family. Some of them were saying, yo, I loved it. It was amazing. Other people were like, yeah, you might as well just do a video. So, um, we're gonna do it like this. I have a podcast. I am obviously recording it right now. For those of you who are listening, hello. If you are watching the video, then hello to you as well. So we are covering both. If you like watching the video, you got the video. If you like listening to the podcast, you have the podcast. This is also pretty awesome because I can actually see how long I'm taking while I'm doing a video. I can't really see that. But anyway, yeah, welcome to the podcast. If you like it, leave a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below on some things, some topics you might want to cover. I was actually thinking about maybe doing some more, not some more, because I never did it before, but maybe doing some um, current event things. Of course, that would be up to you guys. If you want to see some current event podcasts out there, leave a comment down below and some thumbs up for that. I might actually comment down and then thumbs up. So I'm going to leave a comment in the comments about that. And if you want to see that, thumbs up that comment and then I will do that. I will warn you though, you are going to be getting the opinion of a 17-year-old Christian girl. So don't expect anything mind boggling or groundbreaking. But today, honestly, it's going to be kind of like it always is. But today we're going to be starting a series called Youth Used by God. So if you're new to my channel, or if you've never been to my channel and you are just on the podcast, which if you're in the video, the link to the podcast will be down below. If you're new here, hi, welcome. My YouTube channel is basically just a channel, and this podcast is where us teenagers are seeking after Jesus with everything we have, and we're trying to have a little bit of fun while we're at it, and we're having that fun at the SIB, which is where you wonderful people have come, and I'm so glad you are here. Thank you for all the support from all of you. It really means a ton to me. But basically, yeah, we're seeking after Christ. If you don't know who Christ is, stay close because we are going to find out a lot about him, and we are going to be starting a new thing that's I'm going to keep it at the podcast, so this isn't going to be on any normal videos, but we're going to be starting youth used by God in the Bible. So obviously there are a lot of youth in the Bible, a lot of young people. I think I'm going to also group young adults in this just because I know that not all the people who watch my videos are necessarily under the age of 18, like my mom. But it still applies to them. But we're going to be going over youth used by God. If you have any specific people that aren't necessarily youth that you would want to go over, please leave that comment down below and I will try to get through it. But the first video on this, first podcast on this, we're going to be talking about your legacy. So with each of these youth, I'm going to have to, and I'm sorry for the people in the video, so basically, with each of these, I'm going to try to have a theme going on. So it's not just going to be, we're going to be talking about this certain youth. We're going to have a theme with it. And with these first two youths, it is what legacy do you want to have? And obviously, we're going to be talking about the first two youth in the Bible that the Bible ever talks about, ever mentions. And no, it is not Adam and Eve. I was actually thinking about doing Adam and Eve, but I was like, they weren't technically youth. They were made into full adults, I guess, if that's what you want to say it. So we're not gonna cover them at all. We are going to be covering their children, which would be ultimately the first teenagers, which that must have been, I mean, not like they necessarily really had like, oh, we're the first youth, but I mean, I think it's a pretty cool thing to know like, oh, I was the first youth ever to walk the face of the planet. I was the first person to ever go through puberty. I was, well, that might not be an honor. Um, but, to just kind of be like, I don't know, I guess I personally think it's kind of a weight. Obviously, they didn't know it, but to be the first teenagers, like, you are literally the first idea of teenager that anyone is ever going to have. And if you mess this up, that's going to be like, you are literally the first. Anyway, yeah, I think it's pretty cool that they're first teenagers. Obviously, they probably didn't see that much stress in it because it was normal for them. But I would be pretty stressed if I had to be the first teenagers. Anyway, we're going to be talking about Cain and Abel, if you didn't get that already. So, if you have not read your Bible, Cain and Abel are found in Genesis 4. And they are the first youth to be mentioned in the Bible, like I said. And we're going to be talking about legacy because even though these two brothers grew up together, were raised by the same parents, probably had the same restrictions. Nowadays you can kind of say, oh, they turned out to be a good kid because their parents did this and that, or they turned out to be a bad kid because their parents did this and this. But in this case, they were raised by the same parents, like they didn't have video games. You can't blame anything. They had the same exact upbringing, and they both ended up very, very differently. So, first, we're going to be talking about Abel. So, if you don't know their names are Cain and Abel. And Abel was a shepherd. If you don't know what a shepherd is, they watch sheep. If you don't know what sheep are, they are an animal. If you don't know what animals are, you need to pay more attention in science class. But Abel was a shepherd and Cain was a farmer. And so first we're just going to set off, Cain was the firstborn. He was above Abel. He was the firstborn on the earth. Like, it's pretty cool. Like, I'm going to keep going to that first teenager's firstborn thing. He was the first baby ever born on Earth, which I think is pretty epic. I mean, poor Eve, she must have been confused how that worked. But Cain was the first baby born, and then Abel came right after. And so basically, Genesis 4, I have it up here for you people in the video. It starts off and it says, she gave birth to two boys. And it says, okay, now Abel kept the flocks and Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought some of the fruits of the soil as an offering to the Lord. So right away we see, okay, they're born, and then right away it goes straight into the story of Cain and Abel, and they're bringing offerings to God from their professions. So Cain brings some of the fruits, and Abel brought an offering, and it was the fat portions of the firstborn of his flock. So if you do not know Jewish tradition, obviously I'm not a Jew. Well, I'm not going to say obviously, but I am not a Jew. So I'm not going to say I am. I totally understand everything about them. I don't understand like all of their traditions. But when you read the Bible, you will realize that the firstborn is always a huge thing. Being the firstborn human, being the firstborn child, being the firstborn animal, being the firstborn anything is a big deal. It's like they get the most honor and prestige of the family. So here Abel is bringing the fat portions from his firstborn. So the first lamb, the first animal that was born out of his flock, he gives to God. And then it says that the Lord looked with favor on Abel and his offering. But on Cain and his offering, he did not look with favor. So here you have a thing of they both brought an offering, and God looks at Abel's and says, you know what? This brings me joy. This brings me, like, I accept this offering, and it is pleasing to me. And then he looks at Cain's, and it does not please him. And when this happened, Cain was very, very angry. Imagine you in this situation. I'm a second born child, so I don't really know what it's like to be the firstborn. I hear that it's harder. Also, people say that the middle child is the forgotten one. I don't think I'm forgotten, but that might be because I'm the girl. Anyway, imagine you in Cain's shoes right now. You are the firstborn child. out of the entire planet. You are the first baby to cry. You are the first baby to have a stinky diaper. I don't think they had diapers, but you are the first one to go through all these different changes. You are the first one to go through puberty. You're the first one to like a girl, you're the first one to get married, you're the first one, you're the first one to actually hit these milestones in life. You are the firstborn. That's such a big deal. And you bring this offering to God, and your little brother receives more favor than you. Or not even more favor. Your little brother receives favor and you don't. Like, obviously, God had a reason behind it. God wanted the lamb and stuff, but you can imagine how angry Cain is. It's like, I'm the firstborn. I gave part of what I had, what I grew, to God, and you can really, I think you can really sympathize with him. But then ultimately that wasn't Cain's downfall, because a lot of times we're like, oh, he gets angry. How dare he? No, Cain getting angry wasn't his downfall. It's what he did with that anger. So if you go on to verse 6, the Lord said to Cain, "Why are you angry? Why is your face downcast? If you do what is right, will you not be accepted? But if you do not do what is right, sin is crouching at your door. If it desires to have you." So the sin is crouching at your door, it desires to have you, but you must rule over it. So here God is saying, he's like, look, why are you mad? Okay, if you do what's right, you're going to be blessed. Okay, and then God says, look, sin is crouching at your door right now, and you have the choice. No one is making you do what's right. No one's making you do what's wrong. You have the choice in this moment to choose right. And that right there is where we get to decide what kind of legacy we want to have. We have the two legacies right here. We have the one that is that loves God and seeks after him, and it's the good example. I feel like in culture it's the goody two shoes. Or you have the rebel. And ultimately, this is where these two brothers' legacies are created, where God says to him, and we all reach this point where God is basically saying, look, sin is at your door. Whether it's a temptation or whether it's anger over something, whatever it is, sin is at your door, and you have the option now to choose your legacy. You have the option to choose right or wrong, and that's ultimately going to decide a lot in your future. Now, when I say that, I don't say that God does not forgive. Yes, many times I have even chosen the wrong thing, where sin is crouching at my door and it's like God's like, you have a decision. Are you going to do what's right or do what's wrong? And I've chosen to do what's wrong, and I've paid for that, but that doesn't mean that there's not forgiveness in the end. But in this case right now, Cain is being offered the right choice or the wrong choice, the legacy of following God or the legacy of following flesh. And sadly, Cain does not choose the right one. Now Cain said to his brother Abel, "Let's go out to the field." While they were in the field, Cain attacked his brother Abel and killed him. So that right there is where Cain's legacy turned. You see, because Cain's legacy didn't turn when he gave the offering. Cain's legacy didn't turn when he got angry. Cain's legacy turned into the bad example in the Bible. Cain's legacy turned into, like if you read it in the Bible, it literally shows Abel as this, like, look at this guy who he pleased God. He ready, I did not get this verse yet. So, yes, here. It's in Hebrews 11:4. Okay, I knew that. And it says, like, even here, he is being used as a good example. He says, by faith Abel brought God a better offering than Cain did. By faith he was commended as righteous when God spoke well of his offerings, and by faith Abel still speaks even though he is dead. So, like, right there, look at that legacy that it's kind of like, I don't know, maybe it's just because I have two brothers, but when I look at it, it's kind of like if Cain did the right thing, he might have actually ended up being brought aside with Abel in that comparison. But because he chose to do the wrong thing, his legacy is he's the guy that Abel gave a better offering. He's the first murderer. He's the first, like, after his parents, he is the first sinner, or the first big sinner, or, obviously to God, no sin is bigger. But because he chose, God told him, look, sin is knocking at your door, do what's right. He chose, no, I'm not going to do what's right. Guess what? His legacy will forever be the brother who killed his brother. His legacy will forever be the man who Abel brought a better offering. By faith, God brought a better offering. So right now we're going to talk about what kind of legacy do you want to have? Because ultimately, sin is always knocking at your door. Sin is constantly there, Satan is constantly trying to find ways to bring you down. And you are constantly having to ask yourself, what am I going to do? And I want to encourage you, constantly ask yourself, what kind of legacy do I want to leave? What kind of legacy do you want to have? And especially, what kind of legacy do you want about your teen years? Because obviously, I'm a teenager right now, and a lot of people say, oh, high school doesn't really matter. And I kind of agree with that, because in the big grand scheme of things, high school doesn't matter as much as other parts of your life. But ultimately, when you are in high school, you are leaving a legacy. I'm especially feeling that you other seniors might as well. But as a senior this year, I'm feeling that weight of middle schoolers and underclassmen are looking up to me. When I graduate, I am leaving an example of what a senior should be like. And in that instance, what kind of legacy do I want to leave? Do I want to be that senior that the teachers use as a bad example? Do I want to be that senior that the kids who don't really care about school are like, oh, I want to be like that dude. They were that girl, she was so cool. Like, no, she didn't do her homework, she failed all her classes. Who cares? She talked back to the teachers, but she was so cool. Or do I want to have the legacy of teachers being like, of teachers using me as an example to those students and being like, look, she was cool and she followed the rules. So when I say what kind of legacy do you want to have, I'm not just saying in your entire life. What kind of legacy do you want to have at your work? What kind of legacy do you want to have at your school? Because in each of those places, you have a decision. Ultimately, they all combine to create your legacy. But if you're an angel at school and you act like you're like a demon at home, if you act like horrible at home, guess what? Your legacy at school might be good, but now your legacy at home is horrible. And guess who's most likely going to do your eulogy? Guess who's going to actually be there for you later on in life once you graduate? The exact people who live in your house. So when I'm saying this, what is your legacy? Are you going to be like Abel and give God your best every single day and choose that right even when you don't want to? Or are you going to be like Cain and let your feelings in the moment control you? Let that little spark create a fire. Because ultimately it's your choice. Well, Flamingos, thank you for joining me in this video. Share it with a friend. If your friend likes podcasts, share it with them. Give it a thumbs up, subscribe down below, and I will see you later.